Hello everyone, welcome to the ichimokujcharts.com daily analysis for the S&P 500 for Wednesday, April the 4th, 2012. Well, a change of trend today, and the candle has made a lower high and a lower low. Previous day's trading, we had a candle that had a lower high but a higher low, and the trend prior to that was up. So a change of trend confirmed for today's trading. A very large black body candle extending the size of the previous black body, so the sellers have gained some downside momentum. They've closed this market with control. They've closed down towards the low, so the sellers have taken control of this market, whereas they didn't have control in the previous session. They were quite keen and they showed some decent commitment, although having said that, when they were trading down below the 1400 level, they did lose some commitment. We can see the shadow on the bottom, and that coincides with the market testing down to around this level, roughly around the 1392 area, roughly 1390. Now this market, even though we tested down below the important 1400 level of support, we just closed below there, and it has been a bearish close. Now whether that's enough downside momentum to continue the move is debatable. We've only just closed below there. I would have preferred to have seen a close much lower than where we've closed below the 1400 level to continue the trend to the downside. But if we look at the Kijun-sen, that's pointing flat, and when that points flat, price action is attracted back towards there, and there is a very strong likelihood that the market will be attracted back towards there. Now the flat Kijun-sen coincides roughly with this swing high around 1378. The Kijun-sen is trading at 1381, and that will strengthen the potential support offered at that level, and that will be very important over the next few days trading if the market does extend down to that level. We do have solid support extending all the way down through, and we can see these shadows on the bottom on the way down here, so very good solid support down there. We do also have strong support at these levels at 1370, 1356 and 47 down to the top of the cloud, and strong support all the way through the cloud. To the upside, however, we have some resistance up around the 1420 mark, extending up to about 1422. This minor swing high around 1414, but above the 1422 level, there's no major resistance until we trade up to 1440. That's a very important level for this market if we do see the trend turn around. Above 1440, there's no major resistance until we trade to 1523. So if the market can build some solid momentum to trade up there, then we could see a significant move higher in coming weeks, but shouldn't try to preempt the market. In terms of the time frame, the trend in the second time frame, we have the market making a series of higher peaks and higher troughs, and here once again we're holding above the previous higher trough, so at the moment that trend is intact, and we could see the market bounce off this 1400 level and trade up beyond 1422 to continue the series of higher peaks and higher troughs. In terms of Ichimoku, the market's bullish in the long-term time frame by trading above the cloud, bullish in the medium-term time frame by trading above the Kijun-sen, but bearish in the short-term time frame by now trading below the Tenkan-sen. And it's been some time since we've seen this market close below the Tenkan-sen. It was all the way back here in early March, and that was only for one period, so we could see similar price activity, and that was quite a bearish close too, where the market found support at the Kijun-sen and bounced off there, so we could see similar type of activity. If we look here, we've seen the market test below the Tenkan-sen on a few occasions recently, but failed to close down below. So a test down to the Kijun-sen at 1381 wouldn't surprise. So for the next day's trading, obviously 1400 and these levels down below become very important, extending down roughly to 1387, and then below that the Kijun-sen trading at around the 1381 level. But to the upside, let's watch levels above around 1413 up to 1422. Next, moving to gold, and today we have a continuation of the trend to the downside. The previous day's candle, we had a candle with a lower high and a lower low and a very large black body candle. Today's trading, we have another large black body candle with a lower high and a lower low. Very strong downside momentum by the sellers over the last 2 days. does raise some doubt about whether they can continue this extreme bearishness that we've got in the market. And quite often when we have extreme days, one or two extreme days, then quite often the market needs to take a bit of a rest, and we can see here with these three very strong downside days when the market attempted to rally and then sold off again. Here, an extreme day, the market rested before selling off again, so it wouldn't surprise to see the market attempt to rally. Initially up through the 1625 level, and we're seeing with this candle as it's developing that it is testing that level, but then certainly to the important resistance at 1643.7. That was very strong support for this market. It was tested on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 occasions, and the market failed to close down below there. Today's trading, very significant. We've closed down below the 1643.7 level, and we've closed there in a very, very bearish way, and that could be very, very significant for this market. The sellers were that committed to taking this market lower that they closed below this swing low and this previous support area at 1625.7, so that's quite significant. In terms of Ichimoku, the market's trading below the cloud, so we have an overall negative bias. We had the breakout on the previous day's trading, so a bearish signal in Ichimoku charts terms. We're also trading below the Kijun Sen and the Tenkan Sen. If we look at the Kijun Sen, that's been pointing down very sharply, reflecting this solid downside momentum that we're seeing in the market. So a market that's bearish in all three timeframes, and the Chikou span is supporting the bearish activity that we're seeing in all three timeframes. In terms of moving forward, there isn't any major support for this market until the market trades down to 1577. So over the next few days, if the bears take control of this market again for tomorrow's trading, we could easily see it trading over there within the next few days. Obviously, I've mentioned the 1625.7 level and then the 1643 above where the market's trading at the moment will hold as fairly strong resistance. The Tenkan Sen will offer itself as resistance as well at 1655, and then up to the bottom of the cloud, which is about 1659. But the way that this market's trading, I doubt that we will see enough momentum from the buyers for the market to close up above 1643 for the next day's trading. So a bearish market in all three timeframes. Very bearish. The sellers are supporting the bearishness. They did lose some commitment throughout the towards the end of the trading day, but the sellers have still maintained control of this market. Next on to light sweet crude oil, and very bearish activity in this market as well. A very large black body candle, extension of the size of the body on the previous day's trading, and a continuation of the trend to the downside. The previous 3 days trading we had an inside bar, an outside bar, and an inside bar, and that was a market that was attempting to rally on very indecisive type bars. For today's trading, we've seen the sellers commit to taking this market lower. We've seen them make very solid net bearish progress, which is the very large, represented by the very large black body, and we've seen them take control with the market closing between the midpoint level and the low. The sellers did lose some commitment as they tested to the bottom of the cloud, and that could be significant for this market. So even though we have an extreme bearish day, this loss of commitment at the bottom of the cloud does raise some concern. That could be an area that is very, very important to the market for tomorrow's trading. If we do see the market test down below there in a bearish way, then we do have very solid support at 100, and that's probably the most important number in this market, a very, very significant level, which certainly should see the market find support over the next few days if we do break out down below the cloud. To the upside, if we do see the market rally, then obviously around these lows of these candles where we had upside price rejection, we could see some downside price rejection, and that's around the 102 level, and that could be important for this market moving forward. But at the moment, the market has actually attempting to trade up through there. Above there we do have strong resistance at 103.39, and then extending up to the top of the cloud at the Tenkan Sen, which is trading at 104.41. So there's some important levels to the upside. In terms of Ichimoku, this market is neutral by trading within the cloud, so we've gone from being bullish to to now neutral by trading within the cloud. Previously we saw the market find support at the cloud, and now we're trading within, so quite a change of sentiment in this market. But the market's bearish in the medium term and fast term timeframes by trading below the Kijun Sen and the Tenkan Sen. The Chikou span is below the corresponding price action, so that's confirming the bearishness that we're seeing in the faster timeframes, but not confirming what we're seeing in the medium term timeframe with a market that's neutral in big picture terms. If we do see the breakout as I've suggested, then that is a bearish signal with Ichimoku charts terms, but we do need to be quite sensible about a signal as such for a breakout below the cloud, because we do have the strong support offered below the 100 level, so it's not likely to be a significant breakout. Also, we have a flat part of the cloud at the moment that the market is trading at, and quite often flat breakouts from flat parts of the cloud can be false moves, so we do need to be careful of that. But over the next few days, if we do see the market trade in a very bearish way below 100, then that would be a solid signal that the bears have taken over this market and they've taken strong control of the market. There isn't any strong support in this market until we trade down to roughly this minor level around 97.31, and then down to roughly about 96, and then to 94.63. So the important levels are at the bottom of the cloud, which is at 101.24 roughly, and up to 103.39.